G'day there guys, greatest achievement in life is making you smile. Back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now, if you love today's video like I love you, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the Barbie, a like on the video, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Posted by user ThrowDad224, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's friend she's too old and ugly after she repeatedly asked my 19-year-old son to take off his shirt? He was getting uncomfortable. My family had a small get-together at my house. One of my wife's friends was over. She's unmarried, I think she's 45 to 47. We aren't too close to her since she lives pretty far away. She was over our house and she started complimenting my son. My son is 19. It starts off innocent, but as time goes on, it gets more and more crossing the line. When we were out on the deck, she starts telling my son to take his shirt off. What's the point of going to the gym if no one will see it? My son is visibly uncomfortable and tries to shut her down. She repeatedly is asking and getting more aggressive with it. I interject and I'm like, hey Kathy, I think you're a bit too old and ugly for my son. This got her upset really quickly, and she excuses herself to the bathroom and starts crying. My wife goes to comfort her, and then later she leaves. At the end of it, my wife is super angry with me for saying that I should have said, hey Kathy, looks like you had too much to drink, or something else. I told my wife that Kathy, by the way this is not her real name, works a corporate job. She's had training on this and that she knows better. And our son was uncomfortable. He's 18 plus, but he doesn't know how to deal with an adult, let alone someone saying that in our house. I told my wife flat out that if I was to invite a guy friend and he was to ask to see our daughter in a bikini, my wife would have called the police. She says it's different. I tell her that I was way kinder to Kathy than I would have been had a guy said something like that to our daughter. And I told my wife that Kathy needs to apologize to my son before she can ever come into our house again. Overall, I think I was fair. If Kathy just said it once and I said that, I think I would be the a-hole. But the fact she kept repeating it, that's why I said it. And I wanted her to get the message that yes, I'm upset, that's why I included the ugly part. I think it's more than fair to say that Kathy knows she was exhibiting predatory behavior here. It's kind of like really disgusting of her to be doing that to a 19-year-old. Sure, he may be an adult, but he's a child in comparison to Kathy. A bit on the nose with that insult OP, but maybe you're not wrong, who knows. It's not really nice to say that, but hey, you got the point across, she left crying, she feels bad about it, your son is no longer having unwanted advances come towards him, and the situation is resolved. I don't know what else you want. OP not the a-hole. Double standard no more. I wouldn't let her around my boy anymore. I would be livid if a husband's friend was telling my daughter the same type of things. And why is insulting her looks and age the appropriate thing instead of telling her off for the sexual harassment and kicking her out? No one is interested in being nice to a pervert. But by saying that the behavior is unwelcome because of her age and perceived attractiveness, her behavior isn't being as described as perverted, but instead as simply out of her league. It's explicitly saying that if she were younger and hotter, it would be fine. It's explicitly saying that either the son is uncomfortable because she's not hot enough, or that the son's discomfort wouldn't matter if she was hotter. South Park's, ha, nice, and all that. Far better to call out her behavior as is, rather than resorting to ad hominems or justifications. Kathy, stop sexually harassing my son or leave. Same response as if she were a 19-year-old supermodel that the son simply wasn't into. Exactly. Like, if she were in her late 30s and gorgeous, it would be okay? No, it wouldn't be. Saying, Kathy, it is inappropriate plus sexual harassment to speak to my son this way would get the actual point across. I 100% agree with this. I think it's a light everyone sucks here, because Kathy is 100% a creep and her behavior was unacceptable. I think OP is justified in wanting her to leave and sincerely apologize, but I think that his wording doesn't really accomplish addressing what I feel is most wrong about the situation. That a person was harassing and pressuring someone else in a sexual manner, regardless of age, looks, gender, etc. That said, I can understand from a more personal level how OP could say things like he did out of anger, frustration, and disgust. In hindsight, sure, something better might have been said, but if it were your kid in the heat of the moment, could you take the time to reflect on how to say it or immediately strike the situation down? Some people have more peace of mind in stressful and, emotional situations than others. I'm sure some people would say a lot worse. OP says, if she was 19 years old, my son can handle it on his own. The reason why I intervened was because she is much older than my son and is seen as an authority figure and is close friends with his mother and in a situation in front of the family. That's why I intervened. It's not being nice to a pervert to not resort to shaming over age and looks. There's plenty to her behavior to comment on that doesn't require shaming someone about their appearance. She's gross for being so suggestive towards someone less than half her age who expressed discomfort and didn't want anything to do with it. Flipping the genders again. If a 40-year-old man were creeping on a 19-year-old woman, would anybody here raise an eyebrow if he was called a fat and creepy old man? It would just be a complete non-issue. Why do you feel the need to defend this woman? Right? I believe in respect to people, but people asking my child to undress doesn't get any niceties or respect. See, I back that one. That's a very good point. If we had time to process these things, maybe you don't say it. Heat of the moment, you're more than likely going to say something like that. You guys are cool to say your everyone sucks here opinions, that's fine, everyone's different. I'm sticking with the not the a-hole crowd. Posted by user Stracuberry Sunday, titled, Am I the a-hole for choosing myself over my child? I, 27 female, became pregnant by my husband, 28. I wasn't on birth control, bad side effects, and he used a condom as we weren't ready for kids yet. After confirming that I was pregnant, took a pregnancy test after days of morning sickness, we decided to keep the baby as we both had stable incomes and a house that has a few extra rooms. I was due to give birth a few weeks ago after a pretty okay pregnancy. Not extremely good or anything, but not as bad as some women. My husband was the only one in the room with me due to hospital restrictions, but we were excited and nervous for the birth of our first child. We were having a baby boy. Unfortunately, due to complications during the birth, it came down to either my life or the baby's, and I, terrified for my life, told the nurses to fix the complication first, it's very rare, and then to try to save the baby. I had to undergo emergency surgery, but in doing so, resulted in the loss of my beautiful baby. In the moment, my husband and I were okay with my decision and grateful that I survived, but upset over the loss of our child. When we returned home and broke the news to our families, my family was so kind and understanding and helped me and my husband in our grieving process. But his parents were furious. They said that I was a horrible woman and a terrible mother for letting my child die. His mother specifically said that she would give her life for her children and that I was a selfish, cold-hearted tramp. This made me feel even worse about my choice, and I became very depressed. During this time, my husband began to turn on me and said that he wasn't sure if he wanted to create a family with someone who didn't care about her children. He says that what I did was selfish and that he doesn't trust me anymore. I feel so alone, even with the support of my family. I was talking with one of my friends about this, and she said that they are all being awful, but I'm not so sure anymore. Am I the a-hole for choosing my life over the child's? So the husband is mad that the wife chose not to die? That's what's at the forefront of this question. The child is secondary to it. The husband and his family are mad that the wife chose not to die. OP not the a-hole. You are so not the a-hole. Honestly, I'm sorry you had to go through this, and I'm sorry for your loss. But choosing to save your own life is in no way a bad choice. And if your husband would rather you had died giving birth, I think you should seriously reconsider your marriage. I can't believe how anyone would think OP is the a-hole, when clearly she isn't. OP's husband is letting his family poison him. What vipers? OP, I am so sorry for everything you've been through, and I know everyone is grieving right now. But you should reconsider your marriage to this man. What would he have done in your shoes? He can say all day long he would have died, but you honestly face death, and he will never know that feeling as a woman does. You had to make a tough decision, and he has no right to make you feel less than for it. Same thing applies to your monster of a mother-in-law. Those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Totally not the a-hole. I agree with every word you said, and for a minute, I'm gonna be a horrible person and say this. You can make a new baby, you can't make a new wife whom you have loved for years and months. Yes, you've loved the baby too, but everyone knows it's very different. If you care about the baby more than the wife during a critical pregnancy like OP's, as difficult as it may be, if you think saving the wife instead of the baby was a mistake, it's clear that you see her as a baby-making machine and not a wife. I'm a guy. I don't know if it affects this whole statement in any way. Not the a-hole at all. She would have preferred your child to have no mother? For your husband to have no wife? For your family to lose their daughter? She's the selfish one. It sounds to me like she's bitter because if your husband lost you, then she could have stepped up and played mother to the child. You're a person. You're not just an incubator to provide children to your mother-in-law or your husband. You can always have more babies, but no one can replace you in your child's life. Given the same choice, I would choose the same. Your husband is being an ass. Maybe try counseling for him to overcome his grief, but if he continues to say things like that, it might be in your best interest to find someone else. Piggybacking to add that your husband's reaction is hugely concerning. What happens if this kind of situation happens again and you're incapacitated? Do you really want to entrust your husband to make that decision for you if you can't? He just told you how much he values your life. Listen to him. It's not selfish to prioritize your own life over your unborn child's. If you can't trust him to respect your priorities, you should take precautions that he doesn't get to make that call against your wishes. And it goes beyond that. What if it's not between your life and the baby's? What if you require life-saving treatment that would decrease your fertility? Would he also refuse? You might consider this a stretch, and maybe he was just influenced by your in-laws. Screw them, by the way. But this is a real possibility, and you should definitely explore this issue, even if it's just hypothetical. It's another one, sorry. Posted by user Vegan Thunder, titled, "Am I the a-hole for turning my niece vegan?" Hey Reddit, I've got some family drama going on and need to know if it really is all my fault. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law recently asked if my husband and I could watch their 7-year-old daughter for a few weeks. We said yes, and my niece came to stay with us. I'm out of work due to COVID, and my husband is an essential worker who has been working extremely long hours, so 95% of the childcare fell on me. I've been a vegan for over 10 years, and was vegetarian for several years before that. Everyone in the family knows this. I cook vegan at home, my husband will sometimes add his own meat or dairy to the vegan meals that I provide, but with his new work hours he hasn't had time to cook for himself at all. So all the meals prepared at our house have been vegan. I did get some meat-based convenience foods for my niece, stuff like chicken nuggets that could just be heated, I can't handle raw meat, and added to her plate. It pained me to do it, but I figured it would be best for everyone. After a few days of living with us, and helping me prepare meals, my niece started asking questions about why I don't cook real meat. I explained to her that I don't eat animals. She kept asking questions about it, lots of whys, and I explained it to her like this. Do you think Dexter, our dog, has feelings? Does he get happy and scared? Would he be scared if someone tried to kill him? Would you want to eat him? Then continued, I believe that cows and pigs and chickens have feelings just like Dexter does, so I don't want to eat them either. After that conversation, my niece promptly declared she didn't want to eat meat again. So I stopped serving her the meat items I bought for her, and she just ate my food. When we made pasta one day, she asked where the cheese was, and I explained to her that they have to take the baby cows away from the mothers to get the milk, but if she really wanted the cheese for her pasta, we could get some at the store for her. She said, no thanks, and that was that. When my sister-in-law came and picked my niece up, we chatted for a bit, and I mentioned that niece stopped eating meat while she was here. Sister-in-law looked a little taken aback, but didn't say anything. The next day, my brother-in-law called my husband and was absolutely furious. Sister-in-law and brother-in-law have been screeching about me to everyone in the family, telling them that it was really screwed up for me to turn my niece vegan. My husband is ticked at me because now he and his brother are fighting. He and his brother had always been pretty close, but now brother-in-law has been ignoring my husband for a few weeks. I don't think I did anything wrong. I was honest and age-appropriate. I offered the kid animal products. She decided she didn't want them. Am I the a-hole? OP, you phrase it like you gave the kid a choice, but the way you went about it with the guilting and emotional manipulation of the child, and yes, emotional manipulation is definitely what it is, you genuinely didn't give this young girl a choice in the food she ate. She would feel terrible about eating those products, and you knew what you were doing. In my mind, there is nothing wrong with veganism as a whole, but the way you went about it to this young child was the wrong way to go about it. You're not her parent, you shouldn't be making dietary choices for her. I don't think it was the right thing for you to do to take her down that path yourself, but hey, you can justify it for yourself if you'd like. And I think that big fight was to be expected, and I feel like you knew that fight was coming. Don't know why you're acting surprised. You're the a-hole. Yes, you're the a-hole, absolutely, and here's why. You were seriously understating what you did when you said, I don't think I did anything wrong, I was honest and age appropriate, I offered the kid animal products, she decided she didn't want them. Here's the thing about kids, they are incredibly impressionable. It was commendable that you jumped over your shadow to get the meat products for her, despite the fact that doing so was uncomfortable for you. But really, when she started asking questions, you should have backed out and waved her off. You should have told her to talk to her parents, specifically the part about Dexter the dog. This really borders emotional manipulation. When she asked, why do you not eat animals, you could have responded any way. But you chose to involve a dog, an animal that is traditionally very emotionally close to families, and children especially, and basically likened him to livestock that is used to produce meat. I cannot think of any reason you would do this other than wanting to spread your ideals, for lack of better phrasing, by specifically invoking the emotional connection she had to this specific animal. While I'm not here to debate the morality of meat eating with you, using an argument such as this on a child is absolutely inappropriate and loads the conversation right from the get-go. You should have handled this with a lot more tact. It's not your place to educate this child on matters such as this. Thank you. Her answer was definitely manipulative, and it was a really gross way to try to guilt a child into veganism. Of course she isn't going to want to eat the family dog. And then further manipulating her about the cheese. Like, niece didn't even ask OP why OP doesn't eat it, just asked where it was, and OP jumped straight to, well, animals suffer for that, but if you really don't mind that. This is almost too ridiculous to be real. It reads like a vegan hater's fantasy. I completely disagree. The kid asked questions, and OP responded with grace and dignity. If they are old enough to understand life and death, then they're old enough to be told where their food comes from. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. There is no way that little girl was going to walk away from that conversation feeling okay about eating meat. The reason people are calling it manipulative is because a 7-year-old child is not really in a position to argue with an adult, especially one they trust, so choice here is negligible. Everyone sucks here. I think the minute she started asking you questions, it should have been a text, call, email to brother-in-law and sister-in-law to say, hey, your kid is asking me questions about my eating habits, how candid can I be with her? I think they dropped their kid off to you for a few weeks, knowing both that their kid would have to eat and that you only eat vegan, and that they didn't say one word about how they want meals and questions about meals handled. Short-sighted to say the very least. Not gonna lie, I actually agree with that. The parents kinda suck too. It does look like an everyone sucks here situation. Why were they dropped off for a few weeks? What are the parents doing like these days? That they've got to leave their kid for a few weeks. Are they isolating because they had a trip to Barcelona and back? What's going on? Posted by user Angry Mum Tummy Tuck, titled, Am I the a-hole for being angry at my husband for spending my tummy tuck money? Repost, sorry if you read this already. My husband, 37, and I, 35, have been together for just over 11 years. We have 3 beautiful children. Before we were engaged, we talked about having babies. I said I always wanted to be a mum, but I will be getting the mummy makeover package after I'm done. This is a tummy tuck and possible breast lift. I was very clear that I would want us to start saving as soon as I was pregnant with the first baby. First pregnancy hits, and it hits hard, and true to our promise, we start saving. After my first child was born, we found out my abdominal muscles had separated and needed to be repaired surgically. Oh, ow, God, that's a thing? This is essentially a tummy tuck. Since giving birth to my first, I have experienced horrible back pain and back spasms due to the separation, but we wait and had 2 more babies. My youngest is now almost 1 year old, so I brought up the surgery to my husband. He asked me if I was sure I wanted the surgery. Lol, yes, I am very sure. He asks me why I want it, which I found insane since I've been talking about it for 8 years straight. I told him 1, I look pregnant all the time due to the separation and I hate it. It makes me feel awful and sad. And 2, the pain was getting unbearable even with therapy. Well, he tells me I'm being very vain and that he doesn't think that I should have it. He completely ignored the pain part. I start to get confused and ask to see the account where it's being saved. To clarify, we are both on this account, but it was never linked to my online banking. I saw the balance last month at 15K. He became silent and left the house. I was very, very confused. So I called up the bank. They told me the account had under 1K left. I burst into hysterical tears and called my husband. He answered and didn't say anything. I unload on him about being betrayed by the person I trust the most in the world and ask where the hell the money went. He said he was under a lot of stress with the kids. I am a stay-at-home mum and do everything. So he wanted to treat himself and bought a computer for his office. For 14K? Nah, chief, that's not, there's no computers for 14K like that. I told him to not come home, and he hasn't yet. The thing is, he's an excellent daddy, that's what she said, and husband, and this is very out of the blue. It has made me so upset that I texted him I wanted a divorce, since I seemed to not matter. He texted me back saying no divorce, but it was his money anyway. This has damaged us to a level I never thought we could get to. My mother-in-law called me and told me to kick him out, but my own family, especially mother, is saying she's very disappointed in me and thinks I'm vain and shallow. I just want to look normal and play with my babies with no pain. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add, he said that he thought I didn't want it anymore since I haven't talked about it in a few months and he thought I'd never realize. And he has seen me struggle with the pain for years and has taken me to every therapy appointment. Also, the money was transferred to his sole account. I have one too for fun money. We transfer the equal amounts to each of us when we can. I cannot see the transactions after the transfer. Edit. Reading the comments after only 30 minutes of this post being up has made me realize what an idiot I am. Thank you for educating me on computers and prices. I guess that's it. Edit. He texted me, "I'm so sorry, honey. I lost my mind for no reason at all. When I married you, I said in sickness and in health, and I broke that promise. The money is sitting in my account still, and I will move it back tomorrow morning as soon as I can." We talked about the recovery time for surgery and the time I need to take off to watch the kids and run the house. It has made me panic a great deal, so I moved it thinking you wouldn't mind me spending it, and we just save up again. I did it out of panic and frustrations, and did not expect you to find out so soon. I planned on returning it and telling you what I did and why. I understand if you want a divorce and to leave me behind. I am staying with Nathaniel tonight, sweetheart. Rest, and I will fix it all tomorrow, I promise you. You will have the surgery you wanted. I am a selfish, stupid man, and I hope you can forgive me. For the first time in my relationship with this man, I don't believe an effing word that he wrote me. He always told me I had it easy not working, and now he's saying he can't handle a week in my shoes? I feel ice cold towards my husband, and it is a sick feeling. My dad and aunt, police officer, are coming to stay the night. I will think long and hard about this relationship and everything I read here. Thank you everyone. I think that concludes this post. If it were me, I would say don't expect an update post on this one. Kinda seems like she's gonna handle it, but hey, this is a good enough post in and of itself. I don't know what the hell is going on with the husband. Obviously, we see a lot of these posts here, and you do have to feel bad for the husband a lot of the time when they start working 2 jobs and doing 80 hours a week, and it's just not conventional. So I do sympathize with the husband if that's the case, but ultimately, he's the one in trouble in this situation. And that text message just seems empty. I read that and I'm like, bullshit, I don't believe you. I don't believe anything you're saying. Didn't come off as sincere. So I think what I can take away from my rambling here is that OP's not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He texted me back saying no divorce, but it was his money anyway. 2 things here. 1, he doesn't get to decide no divorce. If one spouse wants a divorce, there will be a divorce. It's easier if both spouses agree, but no one can be forced to stay married. 2, it wasn't his money. You're married. It's both your money legally and morally. You need to scrutinize his spending over the last month. Get the bank statements and look at the credit card bills because a top-of-the-line bleeding-edge gaming PC might run you $3,000 to $4,000, and that is an exorbitant amount to spend on a PC. There is absolutely no chance that he spent $14,000 on a computer for his office. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Zip. Whatever you want to call it. You need to find out what the hell he did with that money. Gambling? Strip clubs? Bad investments? Something extremely shady is going on here, and you need to get to the bottom of it. Let's split up, gang. OP replies, he apparently moved it to his sole account so I couldn't get the surgery as he's too scared to run the house and take care of the kids for a few weeks while I recover. I don't believe him and want to see his account history. It's breaking my heart that the one person on this earth that I thought I could trust with my life is doing this. What the hell is that reasoning? Even if it's fake, why would anyone think that that's a good thing to say? He's a parent for frick's sake. He's a fun parent. He listens and takes them places and buys them stuff. They love spending time with their dad, and I love that. However, I do 90% of the parenting and 100% of everything for the youngest. He hasn't had to make a meal, say no to the 2 oldest, or clean a toilet in years. Regardless, I don't believe him anymore. I would demand to see his fun money account and look at his spending for the last year. If he says no, then move forward with a divorce. I would bet he has another child or at least a pregnant mistress. I'm gonna go with gambling addiction or owes money to a bad crowd. Why not both? Girl, he didn't hide that new computer from you, and nor is one $14K. Gambling or drugs. Also, you don't need to be told okay to divorce. All the comments are pointing this out, and I am very concerned now. I can't stop thinking how and why this happened, but I can't bring myself to talk to him yet. Call the bank and see where the money went. To his sole account, I wish I had access. Not the a-hole. I also think he's lying about what the money was used for. Maybe debt or gambling addiction. Also, if it was in a joint account, the money was both of yours and not just his. So his reasoning doesn't even make sense. As you're in pain, could you get the surgery funded by your insurance as it's a medical issue and not only one of appearance? OP says, this never crossed my mind. He plays a lot of casino games on his phone, but I'd never guess an addiction. This is such a crap show. I tried to get it covered and even had my therapist write a recommendation, but sadly, it's still considered cosmetic and not covered, even if it's causing pain. One of the comments says she's selling his car. Oh my god. And another one talks about how even on those gambling apps, you can still lose all of your money. It was really weird for me because I saw my auntie, she was like on her computer and her tablet scrolling through 2 gambling apps at the same time. And I gotta say, that is meta. That is living life on the edge. We're going double slots, baby. Posted by user, let me see if I am the a-hole. Titled, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter's grandparents meet her because they aren't family? This happened a few years ago. I have been together with my fiancé for 15 years. We were both in a severe accident while I was driving. Wasn't my fault. Hit and run. Police never found who did it. I survived. He didn't. I grew up in an abusive household, and they had always been like a family to me before this. My boyfriend was their only son, adopted. And after his death, they started hating me and treating me really harshly. In the 2 months after the accident, they blamed me for his death, by the way, constantly told me how I should have died instead of him. They made me give back the engagement ring. They made me give them all the things he ever gave me because I didn't deserve them. They made me give back all the money we saved. They told me that they would sue me if I didn't. I asked them why they were doing this, and they told me it's because I wasn't family. They told me to never contact them again. I lost him, and I also lost people whom I'd loved and considered to be my family. I was dealing with a lot of grief and survivor's guilt, and they weren't making it better. So I just did whatever they asked while I was trying to get a transfer to another city. Then, I found out I was 8 weeks pregnant. My transfer came through at the right time, and I left without telling them anything. New city, new life. I was happy. A year later, they tracked me down and found out that I had a baby, as I mistakenly shared the news with a friend in Old City. They lost their crap. They were yelling at me about how cruel I was for keeping their grandbaby from them. They asked me why I never told them I was pregnant. I told them I didn't tell them anything because I wasn't family. They were demanding to be a part of her life, and I pretty much told them to take a hike. They told me they would take me to court. I told them that they can't possibly prove that my daughter is her son's because he was adopted and cremated. Also, I haven't put his name in the birth certificate. I told her I would tell my daughter about them when she is old enough to decide whether she wants to connect with them, and until then, I'm not going to let them into my life after how they behaved. Soon after, they changed their approach and started apologizing. They told me that since I'm a parent, I must understand how they felt back then and how I shouldn't hold on to things they said when they were in mourning. They told me how I must forgive them because they were family. I laughed and hung up. In the following year, they tried to contact me repeatedly, always giving excuses and never an actual apology. After that, I got a chance to go to another country and I took it. I deleted all my social media, changed my number, and only shared it with people I trusted in the new city. I left, and they haven't been able to contact me after that. So, am I the a-hole? Edit, I saw a similar post regarding an engagement ring and decided to post this. Absolutely not. Go you for being the better person. What they did after that accident was disgusting to you, and they deserve to be ghosted. They deserve no part in your life. They don't deserve that kid. You did the right thing, OP. Continue it. I love that for you. Not the a-hole. They abused you. They ostracized you. They motherfrickin' stole from you. And now they want back in your life because you have something they want? Nah, no, screw them. They don't get to be that way. They burned that bridge and they are not to be trusted with anything ever again. Agreed. I would stay far, far away from these a-holes. The second they get your child alone, they will start bashing you to her, I promise. Not the a-hole. Also, I don't want to get too weird here, but I'd be worried about kidnapping, or at least protracted legal drama over custody of the child. These people clearly have no problem taking whatever they want, regardless of the law. That's not a great omen for how they're likely to behave concerning the kid. Safety first, time to make sure they can't get to her in school, at daycare, during activities, or at home. But if OP moved from the US to somewhere else, these people won't be able to get to them for a long time. Not the a-hole. They told me they would sue me if I didn't. I asked them why they were doing this, and they told me it was because I wasn't family. They told me to never contact them again. These lousy jerks don't get to do this to you and then start hounding you once they've discovered that you created a new life with their oh-so-precious son. You are the pregnancy vessel. They can and want to turn your own daughter against you. Don't let those idiots do it. It was just one more thing that they decided they wanted from OP. They would have done the same thing if they discovered a life insurance payment to OP or a hidden savings account that they held together. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something that you didn't know before. If you haven't already, please do feel free to click that like button, as it really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already and you love today's video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it a lot. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon members and channel subscribers. You guys are all up on the screen right now. I love you. I love your faces. Also, I love seeing you guys all chatting down below in the comments. It brightens my day to see the stories that you guys share and just the kind words you guys always have for my videos, as well as everyone else in the videos. I love you too. But honestly, your ongoing support means the world to me, and I just love it so much that you guys are able to support a career for myself that I invest so much time into. And you guys honestly motivate me to work harder each and every day to put more love into the videos for you guys. If you guys have watched this far in the video and you haven't already subscribed on Patreon or become a channel member, that's cool, you don't have to, but there are links down below. You can donate any amount of money, pledge that any month, cancel whenever. I'm completely cool with it. It's just there for you to support me if you'd like to go the extra mile. And I'll go the extra mile for you guys by putting out new amazing content every single day. With that said guys, I really hope you have a good day, night, sleep, bath, time at work, whatever you're up to today. This has been Markee. I'll see you in the next amazing video. Bye.